Alright, it's Damien PROSACOMBAT, and this time I'm gonna show you how you can practically use Wing Chun in a street fight scenario. What's not gonna happen is something that you see in the Ip Man movies where you block 10 punches before you deliver an attack of your own. You're just not gonna block 100 times until you fancy shit. And then maybe hit him once and then let him give 10 more punches to your way. You're not gonna do that. And also what you're not gonna do is probably you're not gonna be perfectly technical. Your Wing Chun in the streets is not gonna be a textbook example of how it looks in theory. And by that I mean, when a punch comes in, your Tan Sao is not gonna be at the perfect angle, the Bong Sao is not gonna be at the perfect angle, it might be closed, it might be more open, your stance might be broken, maybe you do a technique out of the center line, and maybe you don't even look like you're doing Chun. But what you wanna accomplish is strike the person that attacks you. And the way you can do that practically is by taking one of the most essential elements of Wing Chun, the straight punching, and using it for angled attacks in order to use your straight punches as a defense and attack at the same time. So the way you do that, regardless of how he attacks you, let's assume that he attacks you with straight punches to simplify it. So any kind of punch, straight, you're gonna punch him at the same time, but from a different angle. So you basically step slightly to the right, and then your own arm deflects his strike and goes towards his face. Now maybe he gives more than one, so 1, 2. The second one won't land because you moved away from there. And most likely what's gonna happen after the first, the punch will hit his face and he's gonna go back and then you start pursuing again. So it's all a matter of mostly who delivers the first one. Because the first one, as soon as the opponent gets a little bit dizzy, you won the game. Yeah, you won the game because you're not wearing gloves, the strikes are much harder and they don't even have to be full-blown strikes like BAM! You don't have to use your full force because even with mild force, it's disorienting enough to drop his guard and then deliver a full-blown strike to finish him. So again, same thing, you guard your center line and you move to the side. Now, to which side do you move? Preferably to the side of his lead leg. We call that in Wing Chun the blind side. And this is why, because when he punches you, a second strike here will go that way because that's how his body is positioned. Now to strike you here, he has to turn his body. But now you control his blind side, he constantly has to keep chasing you. On the other hand, if you go from the inside of the lead leg, what's gonna happen is you fall straight to the other hand. So even if it was 1, 2, you fall straight to the other hand. Why bother with blocking 2 attacks when you can just deal with one? There's no point. So that's it. Now, what if he doesn't use 2 straight, but he uses 1 straight to set you up for a hook? In this case, it's the same. Most likely, before even the second punch comes, your first strike, which is a block for his first strike, should have landed on his head. If it didn't, then you have to deal with another punch. Now, it all looks good in theory. When you implement it, it might not work. I mean, your timing might not be right. It might be faster than you, it might be more skilled, it might be better. But ideally, what you want to do is move to his blind side to not deal with multiple attacks, multiple hands, and use the appropriate angle to strike first. And most likely, if you do that, you're gonna win the fight. Alright, so in order to be able to do that, you need to drill it so many times in different settings so that it becomes ingrained in your subconscious. It's an instinct that you don't even have to think about. So at the first elementary level, you can pick a sandbag or a wall bag or a heavy bag and just practice the straight punches very, very slowly to develop the proper technique. And when you know them, you can speed it up. 1, 2 strikes, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you take it from here and you use it against a live opponent. So you take a friend or a partner and then you practice using that when you have the proper technique on slow strikes first. And you do that again and again and again with one punch only. And then maybe once you have that, you can speed it up. And then again, speed it up, use 2, try use 2, try use 3, and as many as you need until you master that particular technique. I've watched a documentary about Bruce Lee, and one of his good friends, Grandmaster William Chang, who is also the person who introduced Bruce Lee to Wing Chun and Ip Man, and he is a teacher of my teacher, so I'm learning his system right now. And what he said about Bruce Lee was that Bruce wasn't interested in learning all the techniques that Wing Chun had to teach you. What he wanted to do was to take one technique and then practicing again and again and again and again, while everyone else, they practice one technique maybe one time for one lesson, and then the next lesson they wanted to be taught something else. Whereas Bruce was like, why move on to the next technique while I haven't already mastered this one? No, so the more you do it something, the more it becomes a second nature. But if you constantly keep chasing new things, new shiny objects, and you are not eager to put in the repetitions in order to develop the muscle memory for one thing, then you're gonna be a jack of all trades. You're gonna know many things in theory, but in practice you're not gonna be able to do any of them.
So I guess practice makes perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like in kickboxing, how many times have you do this combination? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
I remember one who did 8,000 punches. It's like in one session.
Yeah, and now do you even think about it?
Just coming straight away.
Exactly.
So like, I guess keep on drilling, guys.
All right, thanks, bro.
Thank you very much.